Let me tell you guys a story real quick. Long time ago, from BFA through middle of Shadowlands, I had about as bloated an add-on setup as you can imagine a typical terminally on WoW person would have. That was before the hard drive failure nation attacked. I had a massive failure of my computer's drives, and I needed a fresh reinstall of Windows. Nothing related to WoW was saved. My add-on list and all the highly personalized settings for it were lost to the ether. It's happened to coincide with, well, all of the Blizzard audit drama and a massive content drought during one of the worst WoW patches in the game's history. I'm sure you could have guessed, given all that, I left the game for a while. Fast forward to more recently, when that first free weekend of Dragonflight happened, and I took it upon myself to rebuild. In an effort to avoid the same follies of past me, I put together a new add-on list with the goal of avoiding bloat and maintaining the artistic style of the base game's UI. Something that doesn't take too much to rebuild if I lose everything. Anything I was to add on to it in the future kept these ideas in mind. After my last video blew up, I got a lot of comments asking about my UI setup, or parts of it at least. So instead of reply to each one of those individually and any future comments on it, I decided to make a whole ass video on it that explains everything. Take parts of it or all of it, that's entirely up to you. I'll compartmentalize the video on each feature of my setup so you can easily do just that. So, naturally, this video is going to be a little different from what I usually try to make, but if you're here already, I'm sure you already know what you're getting into, so let's start with the shopping list before we get started. All of these can be found easily on CurseForge. First thing you'll probably need for all of these features is weak auras. One might be used for a lot of power user type rating shit, but it's also one of the most versatile add-ons in the game and can be used for a bunch of mundane tweaks as well, which are a big part of the visual polish I put into my setup. Whatever you pull from this video, you'll probably need this one. If you, by chance, pull something from this video that doesn't need weak auras, then the add-on won't do anything anyways, so you'll hardly even notice it's there. And now we get on to more specifics. Clean up the HUD layout I set up through edit mode, you'll probably need MoveAny. For the action style camera and targeting, you'll need mouse look handler and dynamic cam. There's a few different mouse look add-ons, so make sure you have this one because it has additional features that we need. For the subtitle-style chat window, you'll need Pratt and Sneaky Mod, something, bunch of other words. The overhauled dialogue and quest windows are all just emergence, so that's all you'll need for that. And then we got our overflow list, little optional things that are largely up to personal preference. Details is the damage meter I use. Compass HUD is what I use for that upper screen compass. And then there's Rare Dragon to bring back the classic Silver Dragon nameplates for rare mobs. Right, now that you've got everything you need, feel free to use the chapter markers to skip to whatever you want to copy or stick around while I cover everything one at a time. First thing's the overall layout. Dragonflight's edit mode covers most of that and comes with a nifty little import-export feature, so this one's easy. Open the edit mode menu, click the layout drop-down box, and click on import. It'll ask you to paste in an import string. You'll find a pastebin link to my layout's import code in the description somewhere down there. The only issue I have with this layout is that the bags keep switching back to right align and swap back to left align when you open and close edit mode. Please fix this, Blizzard. Well, alright then, that covers most of it, but there's still a few straggler elements that edit mode either doesn't let you edit at all, or doesn't let you edit enough to do what I want it to do. While I'd love for Blizzard to fix this, please Blizzard. The sad truth right now is that we need an add-on to cover these gaps. This is where MoveAny comes in. Type out /move in the chat window and it'll pop up the add-on config. This add-on unfortunately doesn't come with an import-export feature, so you'll just have to follow along here. Pause if you need to in order to copy down any of this. The checkboxes you want to make sure are on are Move Windows, Save Frame Position, Save Frame Scale, Scale Frame with Shift right-click drag, then you have Overwrite Edit Mode, Talking Head Dialogue, Target of Target Frame, Durability Doll, Chat Quick Join, Your Class's Power Bar if it has one, Totem Timers, Cast Bar from Target, Loot Roll Frame, Bonus Roll Frame, Alert Frame, and Battle.net Friends notifications. And then that should enable all of these checked off elements to be moved and scaled to where you see fit. If you're just here to copy all my homework, here's all the coordinates and scale values I use, but you can definitely use a different layout than me if it suits you. These settings are just the ones I've personally tweaked to my monitor resolution to perfectly fit alongside all of the existing UI features in my edit mode layout without blocking or being blocked by something else. There's one big thing though that you'll want to change, specifically with the talking head dialogue frame. Change its alpha to 0 for all situations and enable click-through. With all that done, this is our first instance of weak auras coming into play. Spent a fair amount of time making an aura that takes advantage of a bug with the MoveAny add-on. Remember when we set the alpha to 0 for the talking head frame? Well, when you do that, it disables all of the backgrounds and text from the talking head frame, but it keeps the talking head intact. What this weak aura does, which you can find down in the description of the video, is it recreates the border and background that goes with the talking head itself so that you can have the fancy flair of the story characters talking to you without the super intrusive black box and a copy of the dialogue subtitles that already gets posted in your chat box. Again, please, Blizzard. If any of this doesn't line up properly on your screen, you might need to do a bit of tweaking yourself. Now, all that's lined up, let's get this chat window all sorted. First, you'll want to get the vanilla features out of the way while we still have the chat tabs visible. Make a new chat window called Loot and disable everything for it so we have a blank slate to work with later. Next, go over to Windows main tab on the settings and turn off anything you don't want showing up in the center of your screen all the time. Things like guild-made achievements, loot logs, system messages, public chat channels like trade chat, and so on. Remember everything you turn off here, and then go to the loot window settings and turn them on there. Drag and scale the loot window wherever you want it. With my UI set up, I have a nice clean gap in the UI right in the bottom left above my bags. Then right click the tabs for both the loot window and the main window and turn the alpha slider all the way down. This unfortunately needs to be done for every character and isn't saved as part of your edit mode settings. Blizzard. Now we get into the add-ons. Pratt doesn't have any export features for me to make this easy for you, so I'm gonna mostly just show you my settings slideshow and let you pause to copy them. What you specifically want to make sure you have on is fading, which I've set to an 8-second delay so long paragraphs have enough time to be read, but short messages don't stick around too long. Font sizes, which you want to set so the loot window has a smaller font than the main window, paragraphs where you want to set the main window to centered, and tabs where you want to hide the main window and combat logs tabs. You can also add timestamps, but I think they look ugly in the main window, so I keep it constrained to the loot. And last, there's still the small matter of the scroll buttons that stick around. That's what Sneaky Mods takes care of. Go to that add-ons config menu and disable anything you don't think sounds nice to you, but make sure you go all the way down to the bottom and make sure to enable hide scroll bars on chat window and hide minimap icon. Then, never open that ugly mod interface ever again. Alright, now that you've skipped to this part of the video, let's get started with the action style targeting and camera tweaks that the majority of the UI questions I got were asking about. Remember that break I took from WoW that I mentioned at the start of this video? Well, I didn't stop playing MMOs. What happened is I bounced around a few different MMOs for a while before eventually finding stickiness in Guild Wars 2. Then when I came back to try the free trial of Dragonflight, there was something from Guild Wars 2 that was missing. See, Guild Wars 2 has a couple of settings that I grew really attached to. A whole suite of camera settings, which includes horizontal offsets and zoom scaling camera height, and more importantly, action camera toggle hotkey. What this button did when pressed was it locked the mouse cursor into look mode, generated a reticle in the center of the screen which soft targets whatever you pointed at, and changed the left and right clicks to use your basic attack and lock onto the target in your reticle respectively. Now in case you missed this, WoW has actually been working on adding features very much like this. The first is under Gameplay, Controls, and Enable Interact key, along with the key binding for the Interact key right below that. It has the exact same function of right-clicking on the target, but now can be done as a key press. A feature that's been in a ton of other MMOs for a long time now. And the next is under Gameplay, Combat, and Enable Action Targeting. Unfortunately, this is limited to the targeting elements of the equivalent Guild Wars 2 feature. It doesn't do the mouse lock, the reticle, or the click binding swaps. It just soft targets the nearest enemy to the center of your screen. And this is where we start using add-ons to fill the gaps there. First, go to the add-on settings for mouse look handler, look at keybinds, and set a comfortable button for toggle mouse look. I got mine set to this little button right here. Then under override bindings, type in caps with no spaces, button 1, and click OK. Then go to command and type also in caps with no spaces, action button 1, OK. What this does is while the mouse look add-on is toggled on, your left click will now use the leftmost ability on your action bar. So make sure all your characters use that slot for their basic attack. That's your Crusader Strikes, Sinister Strikes, Fireballs, etc. When it's off, your click returns to normal. Go back and type another one under new that's button 2 this time, and make the command target scan enemy and click OK. This one will make it so in mouse look mode, right click will now manually lock your target onto whatever is closest to your mouse. It unfortunately only works with enemies, so you still need to unlock mouse look if you're healing a teammate. But how are you supposed to see what's closest to your mouse when you're in mouse look mode? Go down in the description down here and import the reticles weak aura I've linked there. With that, when you aren't mouse looking, a small cross will show up in the center of your screen as a guide for where to place your mouse when you click the button. Then, when mouse look is enabled, it'll disappear and a reticle will show up where your mouse cursor was instead. Target scan binding will now target anything at that reticle, and all the target at cursor macros will automatically be cast at the reticle as well, which I guess I should remind you to make one such macro for all ground targeted abilities your class has. This also serves as sort of a rough guide to what you might be targeting via action targeting in lieu of the indicators already present. But what about the other setting, the camera tweaks? WoW has very limited support of this in base game. But the dynamic cam add-on takes this feature and unlimits it, allowing you to tweak the shoulder offset amount to either side, raise the camera the further you zoom out like Guild Wars 2, and also add different situations to automatically adjust any camera setting from basic zoom to any additional settings added by the add-on. Now it doesn't come with profile sharing, at least not yet, so I'll just have to run another slideshow for you guys to pause through and copy. The situations you can enable and disable to your heart's content and personal taste, but one custom situation I strongly recommend adding is one for swimming. See, the raising the camera for zoom out thing is from something called dynamic pitch. As the label suggests, instead of actually raising the camera like Guild Wars 2 equivalent does, this has kind of a hacky way of achieving the same effect by pitching the camera up the further zoomed out it is. This doesn't matter in regular gameplay, but when you're flying or swimming, having dynamic pitch values will cause your character to fly or swim downward. This is covered by the add-on having a separate value for flying dynamic pitch, but this value isn't applied while swimming. So here's what you want to do for that. Go to the Situations tab and click the plus symbol to add a new situation. In the first tab, Situation Settings, make sure everything is unchanged except for vertical pitch. Let's check off Override Standard Settings there and make sure Enabled is unchecked. Skip over to Situation Controls and set the priority to 101. Go to Events and paste in mount_journal_usability_changed, space, spell. Go to Condition and paste in return space IsSwimming open and close parentheses. Both of these are case sensitive, by the way, so make sure you get these all correct as they are on the screen. That'll do the job. You can, of course, tweak all of this to your preference, but this is all what I came up with that felt optimal without going too strong on the effects. Once it's done, it's saved account-wide. The rest, fortunately, gets a lot easier from here. That target focus option from Dynamic Cam works very well alongside the dialogue and quest frames replacement I use called Immersion. This one's real easy to set up and is perfectly fine right out of the box, but I'd recommend turning on hide interface and 1 through 9 keys for dialogue options. Then there's the damage meter, which you can honestly just use whatever you want, but for the look I have on mine, I use details, which comes with import and export codes as well. So just, copy the import code I have in a pastebin link in the description below if you want to take the same layout as mine. Last, we have a very optional thing that I honestly kind of only have here as a defiant cry for Blizzard to add a compass style minimap replacement similar to ESO that shows all the icons the minimap shows but in compass format. Limitations to the WoW API prevent this add-on from doing all that, but there still allows quest markers and custom waypoints to show up on the compass. But the only way for my compass minimap dream to come true is if Blizzard themselves added an option to replace the minimap with a compass, complete with all of its markers.